Here she is, everybody, the iniBuilds A350 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. A very warm welcome to all of you wherever you are in the world. It's finally time. The A350 from iniBuilds is almost here, and this is one of many previews I'm sure that will be available over the coming week to let you decide whether or not you want to part with your cash in buying this majestic aircraft. Probably the finest looking aeroplane in the skies, full stop, as it stands at the moment in real life. And it's great to see that this has been added into Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's one of the aircraft that I've been looking forward to the most, so I'm super excited to explore with today's preview video. So as always, share your thoughts down in the comments section below. They're super important as well. You guys need to have your say, and all of your opinions are really important. But also, if you're new to the channel, hit like, hit subscribe as well throughout the journey. Today we are here at Heathrow in Bravo Juliet, and we are going to do a little training flight. My favourite route, as always, with these kinds of videos, up to Manchester, of course, why not? We'll be flying offline and we'll be exploring some of its features and chatting about what I like about this the most. We'll be taking the A350-1000, the stretched version of the twin jet, out for a spin over to Manchester, and there is obviously, of course, as well, the 900 variant, and loads of liveries included as part of this package. For what it's worth, the exterior modelling is absolutely exquisite. A lot of detail, a lot of work has gone into this. Of course, if you've got the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 version, then there is no cabin. If you've got the 2024 version, then you have the option to toggle the cabin on or off, which will, of course, help with performance as well, potentially. We'll be chatting about that throughout the day's video as well. Yeah, really impressed with what they've managed to develop on the outside, and as you're going to see in a moment, the cabin looks absolutely superb. Bespoke cabins based on the liveries if you've downloaded them via the iniBuilds Manager, or the MSFS marketplace as well, because this aeroplane will be available there. And I've set up some custom views today which we'll explore and experiment with, and actually they've been quite easy to set up as well. Now, I've chosen Heathrow because it's been very poorly optimised for quite some time. This is the 2020 version, but I've plonked it into 2024, so I suppose it's not officially supported. But I've got low-res textures because this airport has always been one heck of a resource hog, even with my RTX 4090. Flight deck looks absolutely superb. We've all seen the preview videos from the iniBuilds team. We all know how fantastic this all looks, and we'll dive into some of these features throughout today. It's worth noting that flap axis is the keybind for the flaps, not the other option, which is flaps axis 0 to 100. So you might just need to double check your keybinds before you take this flying to make sure that all of the buttons and switches are going to behave and react in the way that you would expect. Flight deck is a really nicely detailed environment. Very, very impressive indeed. It's really, really cool. And it's nice to see a lot of kind of touches as well. Flight deck door is animated, as is the toilet. Super important. There she is. Complete with flusher. Lovely. We have peaked. Crew rest area is modelled as well. I've got the one with the cabin, of course, as you can see, and that looks really good. And then we venture into the forward galley of the 350. Again, exquisitely detailed. For what it's worth as well, you can arm and disarm the doors. They put a lot of attention to detail into this, and it looks bang on the money when it comes to mirroring the British Airways livery and cabin environment. The cabin attendant panel at the front allows you to change a number of different options, turning all the lights on, custom zones as well, and using those cabin temperature zones if you want to kind of simulate that at the back. It gives you door status and water waste. It gives you the opportunity up at the top to refill or empty the waste tanks as required. There's the cabin status page. It gives you a quick overall look about what the aeroplane's status currently is. And the curtains as well are clickable, so you can open and close them as required. We venture into the Club World cabin today, and the Club Suite looks superb. Very, very nice level of detail included with this. My one criticism of the cabin though, for this instance at least, is it doesn't precisely match the British Airways Club Suite perfectly. It doesn't have the sliding door, for example, but these are very small things that actually we don't need to worry about too much at all. Walking through though, looks a very nice environment, and depending on what livery you've used, as I mentioned, if you have downloaded them from the ini Manager, then the cabin environment will be different as well, depending on the airline you've selected. So as we've mentioned, it's a really impressive space. iniBuilds have said it's modular, so when you're not looking at certain things, you will find that the new sim 2024 has unloaded them, and that is kind of what you expect. You might then see a little bit of loading and popping as it renders the cabin areas in as you start to move around and look back at them, but that's fine. That's one way of helping performance on this. For what it's worth, on the ground currently here at Heathrow in 2024, with frame generation switched on and TAA, and mostly a high to ultra preset, I'm running at 52 frames per second. The EFB is really easy to kind of navigate round, and it's personally I found it very easy to set everything up as you wish as well, including the throttle calibration, which I'll cover in another video. Really good animations as well, selecting chocks and opening the doors. And your load sheet can be basically grabbed in from SimBrief as well, which is very nice. So we can go ahead and import that. It updates the zero fuel weights and everything like that accordingly. And then we can set them all really easily, click of a switch effectively. We're going to be super light today for the flight up to Manchester. And then we've got our OFP again, which is really easy to look through. You can either click to go straight to the location that you want to go to, or you can just press and hold and drag, which is super intuitive, really nice. We'll look at takeoff performance and everything soon. Charts, superb, absolutely fantastic, really easy to kind of access and look through. You've got a little toggle slider there as well, so we can work through all the different charts and find the ones that we want, and tab them accordingly as well, so we can find the ones specific to the airport, like so. We can drag them, move them around. Very impressive. Again, just as easy to grab your flight plan from SimBrief and add it into this digital FMS, and a few clicks later you can get it all inserted like so. And your wind route data as well can be fed in at the click of a switch. So we're going to use 27 right for departures. With that we want the umlaut 1 Foxtrot. Very easy. It's really nice display. We can go ahead and insert the data for our arrival as well, because we're going straight into an ILS effectively. And then a few clicks, you can work through, look for discontinuities and all that sort of thing. With takeoff data, you can press Sync FMS, Sync SimBrief to pull in the data as you require. You can also sync the left-hand side for your conditions, and it will bring in the current METAR and your takeoff weight. You still might need to make sure you have got the runway conditions set correctly, and you can change your config as well. So have it all like that, and then we can compute the data, and it will give us our takeoff performance calculations. Nice little Flexer 72 derate us there, and then we can send to FMS like so. Really cool. With that, it then goes in yellow like so, and we can confirm those takeoff speeds. So we've got flex set there, flaps 1, trimmable horizontal stabilizer settings, thrust reduction altitudes. With this you can choose noise abatement, tweak them as well. And you can work through and basically set everything up as you wish to make sure you've got a nice collection of data ready for your flight. One thing before I have kind of fired up the APU is that I've found is the sounds of the air conditioning packs just running away in the background are really nice and accurate, very impressive. We'll get the APU on, we'll have a little listen to the sounds there. There we go. You can hear the igniters. Awesome soundscape. Really nice soundscape. Prior to pushback, we'll touch upon GSX. On the ground tab, there's a little GSX integration toggle there. If you've got GSX Pro like myself, then toggle it on, and you'll find that the menu up here will then vanish, and you'll get GSX integration in your ground tab, which is just awesome. So we're going to try this out for pushback, see how this works. So request pushback. We've closed and armed all the doors. We've got the, I was going to say OANS, but it's called something different in the A350. But yeah, the airport navigation display, we've got that fired up as well. And we worked through all of the checklists. Put the beacon on. Make sure APU's on bleeds. All the overheads look good. Pumps are on. Right, now we're prepped, ready to go. We're going to do pushback facing east on Bravo.
Release parking brakes, please.
Parking brake released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
That's all good. Throttles are idle. Ignition start. We'll get the engine started. We'll listen to those sounds.
To tighten, pull the strap, and to release, lift.
While that's
the
all
top
happening,
of the button.
in the cabin we've got safety
In
demonstrations.
case of unexpected turbulence, we'd ask that you keep your seatbelt fastened whenever seated. If the cabin pressure changes, oxygen masks will automatically drop. Pull the mask towards you, place it over your nose and mouth, and secure it with the elastic band. Breathe normally. Be sure to secure your own mask before assisting others. Your life vest is under or beside your seat. If instructed to use it, slip it over your head, fasten the straps, and pull them tight. Inflate by pulling the red tabs or blowing into the mouthpiece. Only inflate your vest when exiting the aircraft. There is a light and whistle for attracting attention. There are 8 emergency
Amazing
exits
sounds.
on this aircraft, 4 in front of the wing and 4 behind the wing.
And I love the fact that actually there's life in the cabin now as well, so while you're pushing back and enjoying the views,
These are being pointed out by your crew now.
you can actually have immersive sounds, cabin announcements, you can enjoy the startup. You can see there as well, there's a little probe underneath here which burns off excess oil and things, and you can see there's a trail of smoke coming from underneath that. That's very, very realistic in these. Look at that. The finest looking aeroplane in the skies. That little engine wobble there. And again, I've got frame generation on, so the spinner looks a bit weird, but that's just frame gen struggling to keep up. And there's that probe underneath there that we mentioned a moment ago. Not much room for error here on that touchdowns with wing strikes, engine strikes. There's that little flow of smoke. Every time I've seen these start up, you get that. That's super realistic. Really nice to see. Look at that. It's so cool. Looks great. A little bit of ghosting there, by the looks of it. Let's get the flaps deployed to 1. Superb sound set. And those animations there as well, look at that. Very cool for the ailerons. Performance now, still 55 frames per second. There's a couple of little drops to 48 and then it goes back up to 55-ish, but it's fairly consistent. My GPU is being utilised 60%, my VRAM's at 66%, and the CPU's at 50. So we're going to complete the takeoff checks, just going to turn off the parking brake, pop the nose light on taxi, we'll get the APU off as well. So that's set, that's all good. Rudders reset 0. And because we're empty, we're actually going to start rolling fairly quickly. And the takeoff config button is down here. We get normal on the display. So you can allow the aeroplane to accelerate. We're only doing 13, 14 knots at the moment on the ground. So you can let it kind of accelerate itself up to 20, 25s and then use the brakes just to scrub that speed off, certainly for turns and things, really useful. And that's my biggest tip. If you're heavier and you're flying these longer haul routes, then actually you don't really have this issue as much because the aeroplane has a much nicer gradual roll and might even need, if you're going towards sort of near maximum range, might need a little bit of power to get yourself rolling. We're going to make our way to 27 rights and then we'll depart to Manchester. Hopefully you're enjoying the video so far. Overwhelmingly impressed from everything I've experienced up to this point as well, for what it's worth. Hopefully you are too. Right, so lining up then here at Alpha 3 for the full length, we've got everything ready to go. Takeoff memos no blue, light signs all set, cabin secure, departure charts are on the OIS. We've got rid of the ANF, the airport navigation function, which is the map on the nav display. We've pulled that out now, zoomed out to 10 nautical miles to bring us our departure, so that we get that a little bit more visible. Okay, holding on the brakes. I have got a slight weird bit of behaviour with GSX Integration. We'll bring the power up, take the brakes off. Flex, SRS, runway nav. Sounds epic. Speed's alive, power's set, engines are stable. 380 knots, this really nice D rate. Feels fantastic on the runway. Feels really good.
V1.
Rotate. V2. Following those flight directives, positive brake, gear up. That noise, so good. Winter Castle just on the nose. A little bit choppy. And through 1000, autopilot 1 engaged. Lever climb. And we're a D-rate climb. And what we'll do is we'll set 180 straight away. And we'll retract those flaps already. Love the sounds. Very impressive. Handles really nicely. Look at that. So yeah, sounds are incredible, and the flight model actually feels really nice as well. There's some really good effects that we've seen already included, so we don't need to add those immersion packs. The OIS and the ANF, very, very easy to use. A couple of quirks that you'd get used to with the frame generation, like the spinner animations and things, but that's just part and parcel of the frame generation being used rather than this aircraft itself. Very easy to set up your sim brief flight plans and your routes, and if you've flown the Flybawar A380X, then actually using that digitised FMS is quite intuitive and quite similar as well, so very easy for you to get used to there. GSX integration, very good, although I did find that the second time I used it, it broke my landing gear, and actually that's the flight we're on at the moment. So I've had a couple of pop-ups about landing gear malfunction and increased ground resistance as well, and I can't seem to solve that. What we're going to do now is set up brake to vacate. Initially when you do click it, it will hang a little bit, and that's okay. That's because it's loading in that map data. So landing runway 23 right. We've got lots of different options here depending on what the weather conditions may or may not be. Dry 6 is what we will use, and then different exits as well. And you can see there that we've got a dry line and a wet line. You want to make sure you've set your brake to vacate at a point after that. Alpha Echo is a nice natural point for us to come off here. We can set to brake to vacate exit. So we use most of the runway today. We've set all of our approach page up, and as you can see there, we're setting it for a config 3 approach. A320s have got that config 3 button up here. We don't need to worry about that in this. With all that complete though, we've got brake to vacate set, we've checked our data, approach speeds are all ready to go in the box, and we've also done our approach page in the FMS like so. So config 3, VLS 139, approach speed 144, 136 and 141 for a full flap config landing. But we'll go for config 3. I'm very curious to see how that would handle in these conditions, so we will do that to put it to the test. 1012 sets on the standby instruments or the altimeter. Winds at Manchester currently as we record this, 240 at 12, all the 9s, a bit of cloud at 4,400, QNH 1012. Enroute Charts inside the EFB is very impressive as well. This is Navigraph naturally, so you do need a subscription for this kind of thing to work as well. And it's giving us the overlay, our location with the aircraft icon, and it's showing us actually the airway that we're flying along as well. And that'll update between IFR high and low depending on where we are in our phase of flight. Because you can walk through the cabin, it's actually quite easy for you to just open that flight deck door and walk around and set all of those custom camera views precisely how you want them to be. I've got some really nice cabin shots there, for example. And a load of very nice wing views too. Now the situations tab can be tweaked based on what you would like to have. Active or not, depressurization, bird strikes, dual engine failure as well if you really want to make yourself sweat, and GPS jamming depending on where you might be flying as well. So you can simulate any of those, you can turn them on or off as required, and you also have a nice fast failure kind of set to go and enjoy as well. Okay, so bringing us into a quick look at nighttime emissives. Looks absolutely stunning there, doesn't it? Again, the reflections of the aircraft and those lights, superb, and the cabin lighting is just utterly majestic. It is absolutely stunning. As we stand with frames per second, very good, around 55 to 60 frames per second for me still. We'll make use of the terrain radar now, because I don't think there is actually a functioning weather radar in this. I may be wrong, but I haven't seen anything displayed in the duration of our flight today. And by the way, you can just click in here if you wanted to, for example, bring the cursor across, and you can go direct to waypoints by just clicking on the nav display. It's a very cool feature. The hold's now generated because we've got closer. I will also mention while we are here, lots of different liveries are available, but they have also created bespoke custom sim brief profiles for this aircraft as well. So the A350-900 and this one, the 1000 variant, they've got their bespoke profiles for it. Those of you wanting to know about wing flex, have a little look at this. Look at that. Looks really good. So descending to 8,000 feet, we should be entering the hold at Dane any moment. I won't put you through the process of watching me fly multiple holds as I test this. However, what I am going to do is show you the hold entry. It should be about now if it's got itself correct. And then afterwards, I'll record the exit of the hold and I'll discuss how it's performed throughout. The descent up to this point has been a little bit wobbly, where its constraints have got a bit confused and its descent profile's got a little bit confused, but nothing beyond what I would say is a deal breaker. This is maybe just a little bit of polishing here and there. And don't forget, the version that we're recording with at the moment today is a preview build. It's not the final released version, so some of these little things may have actually been dealt with. We've got one heck of a crosswind at the moment in the hold, but it's actually doing a really good job of it. As you can see, 45 knots right to left on the nose, and actually it's holding that line quite nicely. There's a little bit of drift in the turn towards the end, but I would expect that. The crosswind is quite strong. And at the top as well, we can see landing 23 right, dry 6, Alpha Echo for brake to vacate, which is also blue on the left-hand side, so we know it's armed. Speed control's been a little bit wobbly. So what I've done is I've reverted to a manual speed selection there, just to make sure I don't bust any speed restrictions. I found as it starts to fly the outbound leg, it reverts back to 250 below 10,000 rather than hold a hold speed or a computed hold speed of 230 knots. So that's something just to watch out for in case it happens to you, should they not fix it prior to its release. A little bit more wing flex just as we drop below the cloud here, using speed brakes to aid our descent as well. They've got a 45-50 knot tailwind pushing us on this downwind leg, and it's actually making us have to do a bit of extra work on the descent here. And the aeroplane's doing all of it very well. So far, this has handled the approach really well. The strong winds here have given it quite a bit of work to do, and actually it's dealt with it wonderfully. As you can see, it's having to do a lot of work. Okay, Lockstar, Land 3, dual, but we're not. We're going to turn the autopilot off near to final approach. Glide slopes armed, we'll hand fly that last little bit as always. Which is the other reason why my minimums are for a Cat 1. Back into the pea soup. 180. Missed approaches to 3.5, so we'll leave that set as it is. Flap 2.
2,500.
Gear down. There's the runway. And there's the jet. Final approach. Okay, gears down and green. Brake to vacate's armed. Flaps 3 in set. Config 3 approach. And landing memo's lit blue. Anti-ice systems are on at the moment. Let's get those off. Cabin secure. I think this is going to be the aeroplane I end up pretty much living in. More than anything else at the moment. .24 knots on the nose. Still a little bit of backing and veering on the wind. Some mild gusts. That's where we can see that managed speed mode there working away. It's really good to see. Okay, 1,000 feet. Let's hand fly her in for that last little bit. See how she handles with this weather. On the hand. My controls.
500.
Little bit of an overcorrection there.
400.
Correct my rate of descent.
300.
Now it's all of a sudden dropped off, look, and actually it's
100 above.
progressing into another tailwind, another crosswind, a bit more of a headwind from the other side.
Minimum.
There's definitely quite a bit of inertia with this. Something to bear in mind and get
100.
used to. Looking ahead.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Touchdown. Nice bit of compression there of the main wheels as well, you can feel it. Brake to vacate's green. See how she gets on there. And actually we've already gone to our airport map as well. ANF's gone active. This is so good. Touchdown. Nice little effects there as well. There we are. Amazing. So yeah, very, very enjoyable. The ANF works very well. Sounds, texturing, emissives, the environment. Absolutely superb. Really, really quite impressive aeroplane. 49.99, I think thereabouts. Around about £50 UK money. Exceptional value for money for what you're going to get. So yeah, can really, really recommend it. Superb bit of work from iniBuilds. And actually, I think this is probably going to become my favourite aeroplane in the sim. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this rather nice preview video of the iniBuilds A350. This is the 1000 variant. Of course, there's also the 900 and lots of other included liveries, which are all rather nice. Let us know down in the comment section what your favourite part of this aircraft is going to be, and maybe what your first route might be in the aeroplane as well. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. As I said, I hope you have enjoyed this preview. So in the meantime, as always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate every single view from all of you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.